Most people don't quit because they're lazy. They quit because they hit a stage nobody warned them about. One day you're excited, you're watching videos, you're taking notes, you're thinking, this is it. This is my year. And then the project starts getting real. And suddenly you're tired, you're irritated, you're doubting yourself, you're comparing, you're scrolling, you're researching, you're doing everything except the thing. And the worst part, you start thinking something is wrong with you. But a lot of people are feeling this shift, not because they're weak, but because they're in the entrepreneur stages of grief. Yes, you heard it right. Grief. Not grief like death, but grief like the emotional roller coaster that happens when you're building something that truly matters. And I'm making this video because if I can spare one service provider, one business coach from this ride, I would. Some people don't need more motivation. They need a map for the emotional part. Now, let's talk about why this feels like grief in the first place. Because when you start a project, you're not just starting a project, you are starting a new version of you. And that version of you has expectations. She has a little fantasy. She's like, by next month, I should be further. By next week, I should be more confident. By the next video, I should sound like a TEDx talk speaker. By next lunch, I should be rich. And nobody says this out loud, but it's there. That's why the stages feel emotional, because you're not only dealing with the work, you're dealing with the story that you told yourself about what the work would do for you. So when the work gets hard, you don't just feel tired, you feel disappointed. And not because you're failing, but because you're letting go of the fantasy version of the process. And that's grief. That's why I don't really judge people who go quiet. I just want them to know what stage that they're in, because there's a huge difference between I'm not meant for this and I'm in the normal part where everyone wants to quit. Also, can we be honest? The internet makes this worse because you can be on day 4 of building something and you go online and you see somebody like, I just made $30,000 in my sleep. And you're sitting there eating chicken and rice, like, okay, so am I the problem? No, you are just in the early repetitions. You're in the early repetitions of something that takes time. And the stages, they are the proof that you're actually doing it. And if you were doing nothing, you wouldn't feel any stage at all. You'd just be doom scrolling peacefully. So if you're feeling the emotional waves, it means that you're in the arena. If the work didn't matter, you wouldn't feel all this. If you're new here, here's a quick context. I am a launch strategist and a funnel engineer. So I'm usually behind the scenes and I'm helping people grow from idea, offer, and launch. One of my biggest observations is this: brilliant experts are not stuck because they don't have talent. They are stuck because the back end of their business is chaos, and that chaos, it blocks execution. And the industry keeps mislabeling that chaos like it's something you should solve cheaply or you should solve alone. So what happens? People go buy more stuff, they buy more courses, they buy more programs, they buy more systems, they attend more events. But nobody tells you, even with the best plan, you still have to survive the emotional stages. So today I'm going to walk you through the stages. And it's not as a lecture, it's more like if we were sitting on the couch and I'm telling you the real truth, here's what it would sound like. So I first heard this breakdown from a book by Steven Pressfield. It's called Do the Work. And he explains that resistance hits people in predictable places: before you begin, when you're halfway through, and when you're done, or when you're about to ship or press publish or open your business. And when I read that, I started laughing because, oh Lord, that's my life. That's everybody's life. And that's why I call it the stages of grief, because you go through the same emotional waves. You go through excitement, you go to panic, you go to bargaining, you go to doubt. And then sometimes you start even comparing yourself to other people in your field. And then sometimes you even try to self sabotage. And sometimes you deal with the fear of being seen. And then finally, there's acceptance, right? So let me break this down in a way that we can recognize. And I'm going to use examples that you've definitely done before because, hey, we all have done this, okay? All right. First, before you begin, this is the stage where you keep saying, I'm about to start, I'm going to, but you're always getting ready. You're planning, researching, rehearsing. You are making the perfect little plan. And you feel responsible because it looks responsible. It looks mature, but it's sneaky because sometimes all it takes is one video online, one free webinar, one person that you follow, and now you're back to the drawing board. Now you're changing the plan again because you saw someone else online do something else. Now you're learning again. Now you're fixing everything again. And this is the stage where fear, it keeps you in preparation mode so you don't have to risk real action. And I want you to notice something. Resistance doesn't show up like a monster. It shows up like you have a really good reason to do what you're doing. And it sounds like, let me organize this first. I just need one more piece of information. Let me go and rewatch that video, or let me watch one more video. Or this week, I'm really not feeling it. I'll start next week when I'm calm. Preparation can really be a hiding place. And let me make stage one super real for you. Stage one is when you keep setting up your life for the work. And it's always one more thing. There's always one more notebook, one more template, one more app, one more webinar, one more coach, one more course, one more highlight reel, one more lesson, one more, I am almost ready. And the funniest part is that stage one will have you acting like a whole CEO, while you're still avoiding the thing that you actually need to do. Stage one will have you choosing a font like it's a legal decision, making a new folder called Final, organizing your Google Drive like you're decorating a new apartment, buying a microphone before you posted one video, or planning 100 posts before you posted one. And listen, I'm not judging because I've done it all. I've done the perfect setup dance because the setup is actually comforting. The setup feels clean. The setup, it feels like you're in control of everything. The setup, it feels like I am actually working on my business. I'm doing something. But the setup is not where the results comes from. The result comes from the messy part, the part where you actually hit publish, the part where you actually ask for the sale, the part where you actually try and it's not perfect. So stage one is really a trap because it looks like you're being responsible. It looks wise. It looks like you're taking it seriously, but sometimes it's just fear in a suit. And the fear is simple. What if I try and it doesn't work? So instead of trying, you end up preparing forever. And that's why I think Steven Pressfield says resistance loves the beginning, because the beginning is where you can still stay in fantasy. When you're preparing, you can still believe this is going to be easy once I start. But when you start, reality shows up. And reality doesn't care about your mood. Reality cares about your repetition. So let me pick a few examples because somebody needs to see themselves here. Here's example number one. You want to start a business, okay? But instead of offering one simple service, you spend 2 weeks trying to choose a business name. Not because the name is truly the issue, but because choosing the name, it makes it feel real to you. Here's another example. You want to start YouTube, but instead of recording, you spend 3 days watching how to grow on YouTube videos. Meanwhile, you haven't posted anything. So you know everything about the algorithm, but you have no videos for the algorithm. Here's a third example. You want to launch a course or something, but instead of writing the simple offer, you start redesigning your website. You start fixing your logo. You start rewriting your bio. You hire a brand designer. And it's not that those things are bad, it's that you're doing them in the wrong order. Because the truth is, a messy offer that's out in the world, it beats a perfect offer that lives in your head. So if you're in stage one, here's the simplest question. What is the smallest thing that you can do today that proves you started? I'm not talking about a plan. I'm not talking about what you prepared. Started. One post, one DM, one video, one offer, one client conversation on Zoom. That's it. That's it. Stage one is when you confuse planning with progress. And if you're in stage one, here's the move. Start small on purpose. And it's not because you're not capable, but because you need momentum more than you need a perfect plan. Trust me on that one. You don't need the perfect everything. You need to begin. And if you've been there, you'll know exactly what I mean. Okay? Monday, people, I'll start on Monday. Today's Monday, by the way. Monday. Let's talk about the honeymoon stage a little deeper because this is where people get set up. The honeymoon stage is when you're high off of hope. Everything feels possible. You're energized. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. You're like, okay, I'm about to become her. And this is also the stage where people spend money to try to buy certainty. They will pay for coaching. They will pay for programs. They will pay for additional tools. They will pay for a done-for-you system because deep down, they just want to skip the messy part because they are looking for the guarantee. And I get it. I get it. Especially if you're an immigrant or you're a Black woman and you've worked your whole life. And sometimes you're like, I am not trying to waste my time. So you just keep investing in more stuff. But here's what nobody tells you. The honeymoon phase doesn't last. And when it fades, a lot of people panic because now you are sitting with the investment, the pressure, the expectations, the timeline that's in your head, and the mental math. So you start doing mental math like it's your full-time job. I paid $20,000. I need to make that money back fast. And that pressure can make you do weird things. It can make you rush decisions. It can make you copy people that you don't even like. It can make you start selling something that you don't even believe in. And it's not because you're fake. It's because you are scared. So I want to say this clearly. The honeymoon stage is not proof that you're going to win. It's just the beginning energy. Because the win, it comes from what you do after that energy fades. The honeymoon is cute. The middle is where the money gets made. Now, we have the next stage. This is the stage where the excitement completely drops. Not because you are ungrateful, but because now things are real. It's real. You're committed now. And the old ground, it's gone. This is the stage where people panic because they are fully invested. They've invested. They bought the mic. They bought the laptop. They paid a year for the software. They already paid for the coach. Now there's pressure. And it's like being on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and then you look back and you don't see the land anymore. So you start thinking, now I have to make it work. And that pressure, it can make people do two things. It can make them freeze, or it can make them rush into very messy decisions. Pressure doesn't make you productive. It just makes you frantic. Now, let's make this stage feel real. This is the moment when you realize, oh, I can't think my way through this. You actually have to do it. And usually this is where something small happens. But that small thing, it feels big. And it looks like you post your first video and it only gets 14 views. And you thought you were going to wake up famous. Hello, me? And you said your first offer and nobody buys. Or you build your first page and it looks questionable. Or you get your first client and they're indecisive as hell. Or your tech breaks on the day that you planned to record your first podcast. And now you're sitting there like, of course this happens to me. That stage right there, that's act one. Act one is when you realize that the process is not romance. It's practical, it's repetitive, it's normal, and it's boring AF sometimes. And this is where people start bargaining. They start saying things like, maybe I should switch my topic, or maybe I should pick something easier. Maybe I should wait until life comes down. Maybe I need another course. Maybe I should start over. And look, sometimes you do need to pivot, but a lot of pivoting is just panic. It's you trying to escape the discomfort of something new. Because being new, it's humbling. Being new, it makes you feel exposed. Being new makes you feel like you don't know what you're doing. And a lot of people would rather start over than stay long enough to get good at it. So act one is the first time that you have to make a choice. Are you going to treat this like a mood or like a commitment? Because when you treat it like a mood, you only do it when you feel good, when you feel like it. But when you treat it like a commitment, you do it even when you feel annoyed, even when it's boring, even when you're tired, even when you're not in the vibe. That's how you cross the wall, not by being inspired, but by being consistent. Act one is when motivation leaves the room and discipline asks for your number. All right, the next stage is one of my favorite, the Valley of Despair. This is the stage at which everybody was warned about. Halfway through, you hit the valley. You're deep in the project. You're tired. You're not thinking about the excitement anymore at this point. And your doubt gets the loudest. This is where you become your biggest critique. This is where you start comparing yourself like it's your full-time job. And you start telling yourself, she has more resources, he has more support. They already had connections. And you start playing mind games. Then, this is the part that hurts. You start self-sabotaging. If it's business, you stop posting. You stop emailing. You stop making offers. You just go quiet. If it's your health journey, you go back to old habits and you tell yourself, maybe this isn't for me. Most people quit here. They don't quit at the beginning, not at the end, but in the middle, in the messy middle. Because the middle is very humbling. The middle is where dreams go to get tested. So let's sit in the valley for a second, because this is the part that makes people feel crazy. The valley is when your project starts feeling like a burden instead of a dream. And you start having thoughts like, Why did I even start this? Who do I think I am? Maybe I'm not that good. Maybe people don't care. Maybe I should just get a regular job. That's the valley. And the valley also has symptoms. And let me name them in plain language for you. Everything annoys you, even your own idea. You start comparing yourself to somebody who has a whole team, and then you feel bad about yourself. You start rewriting your plan every week because you want the feeling of a fresh start. You start disappearing, and not because you're lazy, but because you're tired of feeling behind. You start questioning your talent, even though last month you felt confident. You start craving validation. You start checking likes, views, comments like it's oxygen. You start romanticizing quitting. You start thinking quitting will feel like peace. And listen, sometimes quitting is peace if you truly hate it. But most of the time, quitting feels like a relief for just 1 week. And then it turns into regret. Because you didn't quit because you were done. You quit because you were in the valley of despair. So the valley is not the stage where you need to figure everything out. The valley is the stage where you need to stop being dramatic and just keep moving. And I say dramatic with love because the valley will have you acting like, if this doesn't work by Friday, my life is over. No, your life is not over. You're just halfway through. And halfway through is ugly. Halfway through is not cute. Halfway through is not aesthetic. Halfway through is where the work is. So the only goal in the valley of despair is this: do the smallest version of the work that still counts. Not perfect, counts. Now, here's an example. If you're trying to post daily and then you're exhausted, what counts might be one short video with one point. I do that. I just do 10 minutes videos. And if you're building an offer, what counts might be writing one paragraph today. If you're building a website, what counts might be just finishing one section of a page. Because the valley is not where you need to have a big plan. The valley is where you need a small win. And here's why. Small wins, they reconnect you to yourself. Small wins, they stop the spiral. Small wins, they remind you you're not stuck. You're moving forward. And the other big lie in the valley of despair is this. You start thinking that you need to feel good to do good work. No, a lot of good work gets done while you're annoyed, while you're bored, while you're tired, while you're absolutely not in the mood. The valley is where you build stamina. The valley isn't failure, it's training. All right, now the finish line. This stage is funny because you can be 90% done and still not share it. You delay publishing, you delay launching, you delay posting because now it's real. Now people can judge it. Now people can reject it. Now people can ignore it. Now people can misunderstand it. And the fear gets loud again. This is the stage where you keep tweaking for 3 weeks. You change the font 12 times. You rewrite the caption 18 times. You start acting like your Canva template is the reason you're not rich. Perfectionism is just fear in a cute outfit. Finish line fear is so petty because you can be 90% done and suddenly you become a perfectionist. Now you care about everything. Now you're like, is this the right font? Is this the right thumbnail for this? Is this the right name for this program? Is this the right wording? Is this the right day to post this? Is Mercury in retrograde? And what's really happening is simple. You are afraid of being judged. Because once you ship it, once you publish it, you cannot undo it. So once you post it, people can respond. They can love it, they can ignore it, they can misunderstand it. And for a lot of Black women and immigrant women, being misunderstood, it feels very expensive because we've had to explain ourselves our whole lives. So you start delaying finishing. And not because the work isn't ready, but because you're not ready for the reactions that will come after. So here's the clean truth. Finish line fear is not a sign that you're not ready. It's a sign you're about to be seen, and being seen is vulnerable. So instead of trying to eliminate the fear, ship it while you're afraid. Do it afraid. Post while you're afraid. Lunch while you're afraid. Because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving anyway. Shipping is scary because it makes you real. Now, here's the stage people don't talk about enough, the stage after you ship, the stage after you really do it, because sometimes you ship the work and then it gets quiet. You don't get any applause. There's no big reaction, no fireworks. And this is where people end up spiraling again, because you start thinking, did I waste my time? What's that? Was that even good? Why is no one reacting? Why is no one commenting? Maybe I'm not cut out for this. But here's the truth. Quiet doesn't mean that it don't matter. Quiet just means that the internet is just being the internet. Quiet just means you're early. Quiet just means it's going to take repetition for the right people to find you. And this is where a lot of people quit too. Not because you couldn't start, but because they couldn't stay when it got quiet. So if you ship and it's quiet, this is not a sign to stop. That's a sign to build volume, build a library. Because sometimes your best work, it doesn't hit today. It hits 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now, 3 years from now. It hits when the right person finds it. So the post-ship stage is where you stop chasing applause and you start building proof. Proof of your voice, proof of your skill, proof that you show up even when nobody's clapping. You show up even when your YouTube views are not that great. Sometimes the work is planting, but not harvesting. And here's what matters most in all of this. These stages, they are not proof that you're failing. They're proof that the work matters. The more important the project is for your growth, the more resistance you will feel. That's why the fear, it shows up, not because you're incapable, but because you're stretching, because you're leveling up. And a lot of people are feeling this shift. They're not losing discipline. They're meeting the real part of the work. Now, let me give you the simplest way to move through these stages without getting stuck in them. If you are in the before you begin stage, stop collecting information like it's a security blanket. Pick one small action. Example, write the first post or record the first video. Make the first sample page. Send the first message. And you're not doing this because it's perfect, because you want this to be real, okay? Now, if you are in the honeymoon stage, enjoy the excitement, but don't confuse excitement with structure. This is when you make sure your behind the scenes is not a total mess. Because if your back end is chaos, the idea will stay an idea. Now, if you are in the end of Act 1, expect the first wall. Do not act shocked when it gets hard. That wall is normal. The wall is part of the process. The wall is part of the price. And if you're in the valley of despair, shrink the goal to something that you can do today. Not a big plan, today. Like 25 minutes of work, one email, one module, one offer, one clip, one video, and then stop. Because the valley of despair is going to make you dramatic. So your job is to stay boring. Boring is extremely powerful in the valley of despair. If you are at the finish line, just hit publish, post it, send it, launch that thing already. Then go drink water and mind your business, you know? Like my favorite song. Drink water and mind my business. Because if you keep waiting until you feel fearless, you will be waiting forever. I love the Valley of Despair, not because I'm a masochist, but because it's real for everybody. Now, let me make this personal for a second because I don't want this to be theory. I've used this exact approach in my own life, even with health. There was a time I did the planning version of health. Perfect workout schedule, perfect meal plan, perfect everything. It was all preparation mode. Then one day I just said, you know what? I'm starting cold turkey. I'll figure it out while I'm moving. And what happened? Once I started showing up, I was able to adjust. I was able to notice what I needed. I was able to notice that some of the plans that I did wouldn't fit. I was able to prioritize nutrition while I was already in motion. That's the same thing in business because people want to figure it out first. But clarity usually comes while you're working, not while you're thinking about it, not during perfect contemplation. Motion teaches you what planning cannot. So, if you are watching this and you feel stuck, I want you to stop calling yourself lazy, number one, because you are probably in a stage. And now you have a name for that stage. It might be the before you begin stage. It might be the end of Act 1. It might be the valley of despair. It might be the finish line. And the goal isn't to never feel these things. The goal is to stop letting these feelings drive the car. Because if the work matters, the feeling will come. And if you've been there, you'll know exactly what I mean. All right, now I'm wrapping this up with my question for you. I'm going to leave you first with something practical that you can repeat when you're in a stage. Because when the emotions get loud, you need a sentence that you need to hold on to. Here are a few. When you're stuck in planning, tell yourself, I don't need more info. I need one action. And when you are in Act 1 stage, say, this is normal. I'll keep going. When you are in the valley of despair, tell yourself, I will do the smallest version that still counts. And when you are in the finish line and you're afraid to ship it, tell yourself, I'm going to ship it afraid. And when it gets quiet, plant the seed anyways. Say, I will plant the seed anyways. These sentences are anchors for you. And the goal, it's not to never feel doubt. The goal is to stop letting doubt drive your schedule. Because the people who win, they are not the people who never feel fear. They are the people who keep moving through the fear. Now, here's the question. Which stage are you in right now? Tell me in the comments. Let me know. I'm in the planning stage. I'm in the valley of despair. I am near the finish line, but I'm dragging my feet. And if you want also, tell me what the project is because I read the comments and sometimes just naming it, it will break the spell. All right, y'all. My name is Webley. I am on this consistency journey to post every day on YouTube for 100 days. This was day 67. If you're in this consistency journey with me, thank you. I appreciate you. And if this is your first time watching me, remember to hit subscribe because I will be back tomorrow. Bye.